Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here. Today I'm going to connect with Greg Cook to find out what makes him an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember if you enjoy our content, please smash that subscribe button and support the channel. It does make a difference. All right. Greg, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you coming and tell us what makes you an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. Why don't you start us off with a little introduction?
All right. Hi, my name is Greg Cook. Yeah, like you said, 55 years old. I do quite a few different sports. Do like track and field is my main thing right now, but I've been doing softball for 25 or 30 years. I bowl. I was until very recently playing kind of in a hockey rec league. So I try to dabble in all kinds of different sports. I'm gravitating more towards the ones that I don't hurt myself in mostly, but married, got couple kids, and then we've got 4 grandkids right now. And by a trade, I'm kind of a computer programmer kind of guy.
Tell us a little bit about maybe high school, college, and your earlier years as an adult. What was your athletic history like?
Honestly, I didn't do a whole lot. I played ball when I was a little kid, t-ball all the way up to just about the point of high school. But I never, all I did, I think in high school was played like one season of golf. And then beyond that, I didn't do any sports in the rest of my high school or college history. So this is at least the track and field portion of what I've been doing. I only found about 8 years ago, I think in 2017. So I just Googled it by chance I said to myself, I've told my wife a couple of times, I say, there's got to be something like this for, middle-aged people. It seems like it would be a lot of fun. So I just happened to Google it, and they were having the State Games of America that year right in Grand Rapids. And on top of that, at the high school I had graduated from. So it was kind of like a kismet kind of thing. I was like, okay, I have to do this. Played softball for 25 or 30 years. I've been doing that for quite a while. I love playing ball, hoping to not ever, quit in the near future. I'm still playing with a bunch of guys that are, in their 20s and 30s. So I like to kind of give them a hard time and be the old man on the team or one of the old guys on the team. We've got a couple of guys that are in their mid 50s now. So it's kind of fun to play with those guys and to try to keep up with them a little bit.
You got involved here with track and field, which, like you said, is your main thing now that you're doing, about 2017. So you Googled it, you found out there was some events. Tell us a little bit more about how you really kind of got started and how do you started training and all of it. Just kind of how did that evolve?
It's been a big evolution process because when I first did it, I just went out there. I think I had signed up and there was only like a month and a half before this meet. So I went out and did some little sprints on the track. Kind of my wife had timed me. She was excited about it too. So I didn't really do a whole lot. And I just went out and ran. I think at that meet, I ran like the 100 and 200, and that was about it. I tend to stick to the shorter sprints. If you talk to any of my track teammates, they'll tell you he's worthless at anything over that. So I'll cry about it if I have to do it. So, but then slowly I've kind of been, the competitor in me wanting to get better and wanting to improve. And I started doing different events too. I've started doing like long jump and triple jump and high jump. So in an effort to try to get better with those, I've been, eventually or started doing, I should say, a lot of track work. And then I started discovering kind of, okay, the weights and aspect of it and trying to, do incorporate that kind of thing. And now it feels like it's almost all encompassing. I'm doing 6 days a week. I'm doing something, whether it's track work or lower body work or upper body work. I'm doing everything I can to try to get better and improve and see if I can, kind of keep time at bay and see if I can continue improving along the way. It's been a lot of fun. It's funny that when you talk about doing it 6 days a week and it really doesn't feel like work, it's kind of a labor of love, so.
What exactly do you do for workouts? Maybe give us some typical workouts you do on the track, off the track.
On the track, I've kind of been taught, and you've probably heard I think it's Coach Tony Holler does like a Feed the Cats program. And I've kind of adapted that a little bit. I do stick to those general principles. I'll go out and I like to keep it short and sweet. I don't like to spend a whole lot of time doing it. If at most I like to spend like an hour, but I'll go out and do a bunch of warm-ups and everything. And I'll do 3 or 4 or 5 short sprints. And then I'll incorporate maybe a 150 or a 200 at the end of my workout, but I keep it pretty short. When I do it 100% and I do it full rest. Which is kind of one of the things I think he incorporates too. I don't generally, for the most part, do spikes all the time just because I found it tends to irritate my shins a little bit. But yeah, otherwise I try to keep those very short. And same thing kind of with my workouts for, weight work. I try to keep it to about an hour. I don't want to spend all night doing it. I don't like to take time away from, family time with my wife. I don't like to be doing that. I get bored if it's more than that, honestly.
Mhm.
So with the lower body workouts, I'll do a lot of posterior chain kind of stuff, strictly with kind of glutes and hamstrings and, a lot of that kind of works, sticking to exercises that really hit those. And then I just kind of do a general upper body workout. I don't spend a whole lot of time on one muscle group. I just kind of do one exercise and I'll switch them up, workout to workout. But, whether it's biceps or triceps, lats, chest, that kind of thing, I just kind of mix it up and keep it simple. And I don't spend a whole lot of time doing it. So,
Do you go heavy when you're lifting in the gym, or do you keep it lighter weights, high reps?
no, I usually try to keep it more heavy. I'm trying to, and if I can, I'm trying to adapt whatever exercise I'm doing to kind of explosive kind of stuff. Lately, I've been trying to more incorporate a little bit of kind of plyometrics to it. I hadn't done that previously, but I think it just makes sense to me that there's a lot of value there to, with especially I do shorter sprints and I'm doing things like long jump and triple jump. So you want to have that speed there and explosive starts for the obviously the shorter sprint. So yeah, trying to do a lot of plyo stuff recently, incorporate that in kind of my leg days and out on the track as well a little bit to kind of help along that line. So I'm just kind of getting healthy this season too. So I'd gone to the National Senior Games here in late July and early August, and that was my first meet of the season. So far, knock wood, it seems to be helping a little bit. My times I didn't feel were all that off from what usually expecting to see, even though I had like a 4 month layoff. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it's being good for the program and it'll continue to kind of evolve a little bit and help me out in the long run here. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, speaking of times, why don't you give us an idea of some of your events, some of your PRs, maybe some of your highlight places and so forth.
Just recently, I did a couple PRs at the National Senior Games. I think I ran a 6:45 and a 6:47 in the 50 meter, which um, I felt was pretty good considering. Last year in the outdoor, I think my best for the 100 meter was 11:77. And then last year at the Pan American Games they have in Cleveland, I think I ran a 23:69, I think, for the 200. So I feel like I've been making pretty big improvements. I remember, not that long ago for the 200 meter running, mid 25 second, upper 25 seconds. So I feel like all the work is starting to pay off, even though I feel like I'm doing a lot of work, but it seems like it's heading me certainly in the right direction.
I know you had kind of a major achievement with a couple of track buddies. Tell us about that relay team that you were on.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a lot of fun. When I went to the world meet there, I was very much hoping to be able to make one of the 200 relay teams. That was kind of one of my goals for the whole meet. So yeah, I ended up being, I think, the number 2 seed for the 200 folks for the guys, and got paired with yeah, Emma and Andrea for the along with Lee Bridges for our group, and yeah, it was quite the honor to be able to run for Team USA to do that. Not only that, but to win gold and set a world record is really,
Yeah.
really cool stuff. More than I could have hoped for. I was just wanted to make the team and be able to do it and run it. But to do all that stuff on top of it was really, really very cool.
And who are all your teammates? Give them a shout out.
Lee Bridges, Andrea Collier, and Emma McGowan. They were all amazing too. They were all great people. Again, the Masters track community. And I know I've heard of a lot of your other interviewees say the community out there is just amazing, and they really are. They were a lot of fun to. Even though we didn't have a ton of time to really get to know each other, we had a great time doing it. It was a lot of fun. They're all really great.
You're having a ball. You're feeling good. You're getting better. You got a world record under your belt. We talked a little bit about the fitness aspect of it, but how do you fuel your body and how do you incorporate rest so that you can recover?
I probably should incorporate more rest. I do, like I say, I only take one day off a week, and usually that's only because I'm doing some other sport. In the summer I'm taking one night off to do golf, and in the winter months I'm doing bowling on one night. So, but I try to rest, and I try to do some rest. I've got like compression boots. Um, that I'll do after like either track work or a leg workout and that kind of thing. Try to get enough protein. I don't really honestly do a whole lot with diet. I'm not one to watch carbs and macros and everything else. I try to get enough protein. I'll do like a protein shot, but other than that, I just try to, eat sensibly.
Yeah.
I'm not one to eat huge meals, and my wife and I, we don't go out to eat a ton, so we're not getting a lot of bad stuff. We almost never eat fast food unless it's an absolute necessity, excuse me. But so we just try to kind of eat right, get enough protein. Essentially, I don't really get too much more into it than that. I feel like there's probably some gain that I could make there, but when you start doing all this stuff, you're working out 6 days a week and going to meets and everything. It's almost like at times there's a line. You're like, okay, that's enough. That's a line. I'm not willing to go put that much effort into it,
Yeah.
So just trying to eat. I guess the bottom line is just trying to eat decently,
Right. I want to take a little trip back to some of the other sports you talked about, just because you're close to my age group, and I know growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, bowling was everything back in the
Uh-huh.
70s and early 80s. I mean, if you didn't bowl, you were nobody, And then it seems like it's kind of fallen to the wayside over the last couple of decades here. So
I know.
are you still actively bowling? And if you are, tell us a little bit about that. And are you in leagues, tournaments? What do you do?
I am in a league. It's we do a Friday night league up here at the center that's close to me. That's usually like about 32 weeks, so it's a decent amount of time. And then we'll do once in a while at that center. They'll have an off tournament here, there, and a lot of buddies of mine here, probably at least for my part of it, the last like 12 or 13 years, we go to a national bowling tournament that moves kind of city to city. Last year it was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and this coming year it's going to be in Reno. Following year, Vegas. So they kind of move it around and make it it's more about the trip, so you can kind of go to these different places and have a little bit of fun, at that. But we'll go there. Just it's fun because it's they have. I'm sure if you know about bowling, there's kind of a typical kind of house shot where they lay down the oil for a house shot. With this tournament, they make it incredibly difficult. You have to. It's a struggle. I mean, I bowl. When I'm bowling here at home, I'm around a 215 average, but when I go to this thing, I'm about a 175. You make it very hard, and that's part of the fun of the challenge. But it's more these days kind of just about going to these destinations and seeing the different places. But I do still love bowling. I think I've probably been bowling since I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I try to talk it, to whoever I can, because honestly, it feels like it's a little bit of a dying sport. You don't see as much with leagues around too much anymore. And it's unfortunately, you don't see a lot of younger folks doing it too much either. So try to get younger people involved if they can to keep the sport, alive and growing. But it feels like it's kind of on a downhill slide a little bit.
So are you a classic down and inner or throw a big bender? What do you do?
The USBC now has a rule where if you have a hole drilled into the ball, you have to put a finger in it. So I used to have the 3 fingers in it, and I would just use the 2 for my strike ball. I just use a fingertip grip and do it that way. So that way I get a lot more revs on the ball and a lot more hook to it. So I bend it pretty far out and get some good revs on it I found that has a lot more power, but it's difficult now. You look at my bowling balls and they don't even have a thumb hole in them. So I think a lot of people with that new rule, they look and they go, what are you doing with that? But it's part of their thing. So it's a little bit harder to shoot spares, especially I'm a right-hander. So the 6-pin and the 10-pin on the right are a little bit difficult. I found that I got to use a plastic ball and try to flatten my wrist out to shoot at those. But I tend to throw a decent hook with a little more rev rate to it. So
who's your favorite Hall of Famer?
Walter Ray is certainly a good guy. I like Pete Weber. He's kind of fun just because he's a little more of a loud guy, kind of a little obnoxious, but he's fun to watch. He's very entertaining. I will say that. Let's see who's Belmo. I like watching Belmo too. Certainly a guy. A lot of those guys that are doing the 2-handers now, you're seeing that a lot more too, which is kind of unusual. So a lot of those guys are a lot of fun to watch these days.
You're again 55, doing a lot of different sports and feeling good. What's your motivation to keep driving and pushing yourself?
I think mostly, especially with track and field and with softball too, is just to improve. I want to keep getting better. I don't want to the thought of, getting older and slowing down, just, it doesn't sound like it's necessary. It's one of those things where I feel like I can keep fighting against it and keep pushing things back. I mean, the last few years I've actually, even though I'm getting older, my times have been better. My distances have been getting better, for jumps and things like that. So I'm a competitor basically at heart, and I like to do better, and I want to improve if at all possible, so
Yeah.
if I'm out there, I'm generally trying to improve. Softball, I've got my wife, I've got a net downstairs with a tee in front of it, so I can, take hacks down there whenever I want. So, it's along with keeping up with these kids and showing them that just because you're, 55, I think back to all the people I played with that, a lot of them, these guys that I used to know and play with, they quit playing when they're like their early to mid 40s. And I'm like, you've got a lot of good years left, and that's what I feel like. Like I'm not ready to give up just because I'm a number. I'm 55. I think I still got a lot of fuel in the tank, and I want to keep going out and having fun. I enjoy sports so much that, I don't want to stop just because, my age says I'm getting older,
Yeah. Have you had any bad injuries or anything along the way? That's part of my question. The other question is now, with especially doing the multi sports, how do you stay injury free at this point? What do you say would be your secret sauce to that, staying injury free?
I had a stroke back in 2023. September is right about 2 years now, about the Labor Day weekend. Um, and yeah, I had did like double vision, and I had trouble kind of keeping my eyes open. And at first I thought it was maybe something like a migraine or something like that. And I just kind of laid, tried to do a whole kind of, dark room kind of thing, and just kind of laid down on the floor. And after about a minute or so, a couple minutes, my wife said, "Okay, is it any better?" And I said, "It's not." And she said, "Okay, let's go to the hospital." And they figured out pretty quickly within a couple of questions. They were very serious about getting me back and getting kind of some clot busting drugs, I think, in me very quickly. Um, Knock wood, it was my vision returned, I think, after a few hours. But I kind of went down to a downtown hospital here in Grand Rapids and ended up staying for a day or two while they ran. You can imagine just the battery of tests on you. They wanted to kind of make sure, I think, that it wasn't like clotting thing. They had done ultrasounds of the veins in my legs to see if they could see any of the problems with clots, and there didn't seem to be anything there. So they had they do like a bubble test on you, because that the PFO is one of those things that can happen. So they do a bubble test. They take saline solution and they shake it all up, and then they inject it. And while they're doing an ultrasound on your heart, they can see the bubbles move into your heart. It's really kind of cool if it wasn't so scary that this was happening to me in the first place. But they can watch them go through there and say, okay, yep, that's what's going on. So I think initially the theory was, that they thought that it was a PFO, and now they think that maybe it was just that flap itself can cause a little bit of a clot, some kind of a microclot to happen. Most people, actually, everybody has one of these when you're in the uterus. But what happens is when you're born, the pressure, within breathing and everything else closes that. But for about a quarter of the people, it doesn't. And I'm one of the quote unquote lucky ones who has that, and then not further lucky that it, most people don't, it doesn't cause a problem. But with me, it did, through a little clot. So they actually, about 3 months later, they went and they were able to, within the veins, kind of in your groin, they were able to filter or put this thing up and put a little device into my heart to close that hole. So again, really, really cool. Not as much so when it's happening to you, but still cool nonetheless. I mean, it's amazing what they can do, these days with modern science like that. So I'm happy to report that I really haven't had any ill effects. Very, very thankful for that. And it wasn't that long actually after that they had kind of figured out that it wasn't anything, with having clotting problems. So they told me that I was free to kind of do whatever I wanted to do again. And a lot of people around me, my brother, my wife, say, "Are you sure that's what they said?" kind of thing. But they once they figured out it wasn't anything like that, they figured, okay, you're okay to go until we do the surgery on you. So
Yeah.
and I was out of commission for about a week, but that was mostly just because of tenderness at the incision sites. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, it wasn't, you say stroke and you think of all kinds of horrible things, but I feel so lucky to have kind of dodged a bullet there. It's one of those things. I did injure myself pretty badly actually when it was down at the national meet and then the world's meet down there. I was actually down there for that time in between, and at nationals I had hurt myself, my kind of both of my adductor muscles, and a little bit I think in the connective tissue, maybe in my, I think it's my pubis bone. Um, and I had to really lay off in between those two meets to try to heal up. I was hoping again. My big thing was going to Worlds and trying to make one of the relay teams. So I ended up actually scratching out of long jump and triple jump down there. I just focused on the sprints so that I could try to keep myself healthy enough to be able to participate in that relay. So and that ended up probably not being the greatest idea. When I got home, I couldn't do much at all. I couldn't do any running. I ended up going to the doctor and doing physical therapy, and they'd end up doing like a, MRI on me, and it showed quite a bit of damage. So I had to cool it and take about a 4.5 month break, which I've never had before. Usually if I get an injury, it's a week or two at the most, and then I'm back at it again. And I just try to, I guess, try to keep up with my workouts and, make sure that when I'm doing out there going, even doing track work, that I'm warming up properly and cooling down properly and making sure that I'm not skipping anything or, taking any shortcuts to try to, get it going and get it over with quickly. If I've got something else going on, maybe to just, make sure that I'm doing everything the right way and that I don't do something where I'd end up injuring myself. It's been, knock wood, it's been I've been pretty injury free. A little tweak or something here and there, but nothing super serious until this past winter, where I really did a number on myself.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's been pretty good so far.
Greg, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out to tell us what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to wrap up here by just giving you the opportunity to address our audience with any final thoughts.
Thanks for having me, first of all. I appreciate it. And yeah, I think the whole thing is just to, get out there and do it. I mean, so many people, I think at a certain point, they just think that they can't do this stuff anymore or can't enjoy it anymore. And I'm here to tell you that you can. I play all these different sports and I have a good time doing it. And it's a lot of fun to me. I love to play sports. I love to compete. So I think it's just a matter of going out there and doing it. Go out and have some fun with it,
Well, there you go, folks. Greg Cook, he is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.